real estate's a very easy industry to like skim money off the top of. Like you can do a lot of illegal stuff you can do within real estate, and no one's going to follow behind. I have a couple of developers that are just doing really sketchy stuff. If there's a project with a lot of money involved in it, someone's going to try to steal something. I mean, we can't figure out where all the money is going.
A finance development officer in the Los Angeles Housing Department reveals tens of millions of dollars worth of fraud throughout low-income housing contracts.
LAHSA, for example, LAHSA is the LA Homelessness Services Department. For whatever reason, they get allocated a ton of money, but they don't really have a whole lot to show for it.
Including LAHSA, the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority, which has been failing audit deadlines, as reported in James O'Keefe's recent expose.
They don't have a good track record. Like, they're supposed to have a quota they're supposed to hit. They get maybe like 10% of that quota in a year. It's just very, very, very low.
Donald Byers even acknowledges that the tens of millions of taxpayer dollars going to LAHSA is simply going into people's pockets.
So they were stealing the money?
Most likely it's some form of embezzlement.
Where do you think the money is going?
People's pockets.
All part of a complex web of political relationships in which those in charge look the other way so that Karen Bass can, quote, get enough money for re-election.
I don't know if the team can do anything because it's a relationship business. And I mean, if she were to call out like the people that are calling Karen Bass's office, Karen Bass might not get, enough money for a re-election. People don't want to rock the boat.
All the finance officer can do is raise a red flag, which he knows will be ignored, just to, quote, cover his ass.
And have you ever caught any embezzlement while you were overseeing? And have you
I've reported it. I've brought it up to people that are very aware of it, and I've already raised a red flag.
My God.
At this point, it's just me covering my ass, so it's all that I can do. Have you done journalism before?
No.
You're a good investigator. Sorry, continue.
Am I?
Yeah. You're like getting down to the roots of the problem.
Savanah Hernandez here, filling in for James O'Keefe in the latest installment for our Los Angeles homeless fraud saga.
I do financing for low-income housing, so the state allocates money to the city, and the city allocates money to like housing developers. And, I more or less do project management for that.
Oh, so you work for the city?
Yep.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Donald Byers is a finance development officer for the Los Angeles Housing Department. He describes how the funding for low-income housing is distributed from the state to the city and then to the low-income housing developers, all with Karen Bass's final approval.
There are several different, groups within the city that make sure all the money is allocated. So there's like the mayor's office, there's city council has several different committees. The one that I'm most involved with is Housing and Homelessness Committee. So basically, all of it goes up to her. It's all within the city, but all of it ultimately goes up to her. She's the person that signs the final dotted line.
The undercover journalist asks Donald Byers what his thoughts are on the current homelessness situation in Los Angeles. And to our surprise, Donald mentions a public agency that we recognized.
So with the homeless, how do you think the homeless is
in
LA?
We live in a failed state. We have the resources to do all of these things, including go to war endlessly, and we can't house people.
So has the homelessness gotten worse?
Yeah, absolutely. So LAHSA, for example, LAHSA is the LA Homelessness Services Department. For whatever reason, they get allocated a ton of money, but they don't really have a whole lot to show for it. They don't have a good track record. And basically, there are tens of thousands of people that are living on the street. They're supposed to have a quota they're supposed to hit. They get maybe 10% of that quota in a year. It's just very, very, very low.
That's right. Donald Byers mentions the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority, the same LAHSA that was featured in James O'Keefe's previous reporting on Skid Row election fraud. James O'Keefe reported that LAHSA has been funding the Weingart Center, which has failed all of their recent audit deadlines and has fallen under public scrutiny.
21 months late last year with 8 negative findings. An article in LAHSA states that one of LA's biggest homeless service providers has been awarded over $100 million in taxpayer funds while failing to comply with federal audit mandates. One of Weingart's primary funding sources is LAHSA, the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority.
Well, it turns out that LAHSA has also been failing their own audits for 18 years straight. An article in Westside Current claims that the audit took more than a year, attempting to track $2.3 billion in funding tied to 3 major city programs, including Mayor Karen Bass's Inside Safe initiative. The report, which cost $2.8 million, painted a picture of a disjointed system with fragmented oversight and missing or unreliable financial data.
So they were stealing the money?
Most likely it's either some form of embezzlement or they're allocating money for projects, but just like sweeping under the rug or misallocating it basically. So a lot of people are just taking money off the top and not accurately putting all their money down for like what the project should be.
Where do you think the money is going?
People's pockets.
Do you know that for a fact?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
The finance officer mentions another agency that he believes may be using a housing project to embezzle money, CRCD, or Coalition for Responsible Community Development. He claims it is the worst closing he has seen and that it has dragged on for over 4 years. Quote, "We can't figure out where all the money is going."
My project was with this developer called CRCD. It's this project called Marcella Gardens. I mean, you may hear about it in a couple of years, I don't know. It was probably the worst closing I had. It usually takes about 2 years to close a real estate deal from financial closing to construction to permanent conversion, which is like when the deal's out of the deal. That deal took about 4 years to close, and we're still having issues with it. I mean, we can't figure out where all the money is going. So.
And you reported it, and they're still giving them money.
Yeah.
The journalist asks how these development companies, such as CRCD, continue to get this funding if they're constantly failing audits and blatantly skimming off the top, to which Donald explains that he has reported signs of embezzlement, but nobody does anything because no one wants to, quote, shake the boat. It's a, quote, relationship business.
How are they getting these loans then?
There's a limited pool of people that do low-income housing, so the city's just willing to give money for it.
And have you ever caught any embezzlement while you were overseeing? And
Yeah.
have you?
I've reported it. I've brought it up to people that are very aware of it. So I mean,
And they haven't pressed any charges?
no. I mean, it's a relationship business, so like they don't want to piss off. So the developers are within certain like districts, right? Mm-hmm. These developers pay their electeds an amount of money just to have their deals pushed forward. So they don't want to shake the boat, I guess. They don't want to ruffle any feathers and make it so that they don't get paid.
What was the largest amount that you saw was being embezzled and nothing was being done?
Probably 10, 20 million.
Donald Byers even goes on to claim that LA Housing Department General Manager Tiana Johnson Hull, a friend of Karen Bass, would avoid holding any of these development companies accountable because it might result in a loss of re-election funds for Karen Bass.
So you have a new general manager?
Yes.
Oh, who's that?
This lady named Tiana, she was basically assigned by Mayor Bass, so I think she was a friend of Karen Bass, basically. I didn't know her beforehand.
So she oversees everything, all the money that comes in, and then you guys...
She oversees specifically the LAHSA department.
Okay. And she's a friend of Karen Bass.
Yeah, she's a friend of Karen Bass.
Have you reported her about the embezzlement that is?
Oh, she has to be aware.
And then the GM just doesn't want to do anything.
I don't know if the GM can do anything because it's a relationship business. And I mean, if she were to call out like the people that are calling Karen Bass's office, Karen Bass, I might not get enough money for a re-election. So it's just people don't want to rock the boat.
Donald Byers then explains that once the funding is approved and the money is given to the developer, nothing can be done. Quote, "It's their money now." And the developer then has the power to drag the project out, miss deadlines, demand more funding, and the city will just pay it to get the project done.
Because we have a contract that we've signed with them because we're their loan guarantor, we've already given them the money. Like it's their money now. We signed the dotted line and everything. The city's already handed that over. We can't do anything at this point. Most real estate development doesn't work on the time schedule that we assume it does, and sometimes it goes over and they have to keep getting additional money or get help to get that finished, but it's just a messy system.
It's just a messy system. It sounds like much more than just a messy system to us. The sidewalks in the city of Los Angeles feature over 70,000 homeless people. Some street corners look like a dystopian nightmare, and the citizens of California are paying more in taxes than any other state, $800 billion federally, and $265 billion in state tax. With all that money being taken from citizens and siphoned into programs that are designed to help the homeless, there is no excuse for homelessness to still be prevalent throughout the state. But with these statements from Finance Officer Donald Byers, the crux of the problem becomes clear. Corporate greed and political corruption have established deep roots throughout the efforts and programs designed to give shelter to the homeless. From shady development companies dragging out projects and embezzling the funds to corrupt politicians willing to look the other way to maintain election funds. It seems that the help that is needed will remain out of reach for the 70,000 homeless people on the sidewalks of Los Angeles. And when citizen journalists attempt to expose the fraud, the complicit politicians make a mockery instead of thanking the journalist and attempting to clean up the mess that has been exposed. Nonetheless, we will continue to investigate the fraud and shine the brightest light on it that we can. And hopefully, eventually enough eyes will be opened to inspire a genuine change. We reached out to the Los Angeles Housing Department and Mayor Karen Bass for comment, and here's what they said.
Let's face it, healthcare is a mess. Outrageous premiums, surprise bills, denied claims, and now the rates are climbing again. Medical debt is the #1 cause of bankruptcy, even for people with insurance. That's why I switched to Impact Health Sharing. No networks, no woke nonsense, just real savings and up to 50%. You can pick your doctor, there's no surprise bills, there's 24/7 telehealth, and maternity support. Take control of your healthcare before the system decides for you. Go to impactomg.com, that's impactomg.com, or call 855-378-6777 now. Impact Health Sharing, built differently.
This video is brought to you by the Citizen Justice League. Thanks for watching.
This video is brought to you by Citizen Journalism Foundation.